Hello, everyone. You've arrived. You've arrived at session 11, Romans. What do you know about Romans? At the time of Jesus and the activities that we think of in the New Testament, Rome was the center of the Mediterranean world, the center of the greatest empire the world had ever known. Romans is a particular letter to a group of people following the way of Jesus in that capital city. Who were they? Jewish people had emigrated to Rome. They had started a community of Jesus followers. So they were Jewish people who were following the way. The Emperor Nero was very upset because of the fires that had destroyed so much of Rome. And he blamed the Jewish people. He blamed also the people in the community of the church. Well, the Jews were expelled from Rome. And so the church in Rome was left with the Gentile people who'd become interested in the Jesus way. This was the longest letter Paul wrote. This is the longest letter in the New Testament. In fact, I don't know whether this is still true because a lot of archaeology has taken place over the years since I've been to seminary, but it's probably still true that Romans is the longest letter that we have from classical antiquity. So whether you're thinking about Roman culture or Greek culture or Hebrew culture or Egyptian culture around the Mediterranean, in the centuries surrounding the things that go on during the New Testament, this is the longest letter that exists. One of the ways of weighing up whether something is important is by looking at it on its own merits. One of the ways of weighing up whether something is important is by looking at who has been influenced by it. Romans is a convoluted story of a community of faith with very different people involved in it. Some were Jews before they followed the Jesus way. Others were Gentiles who came into the sphere of the community and loved and understood it, but they came from different worshiping communities or different concepts of the way the world is. They were attracted to the way. And these two groups had to discover how to live with one another, how to accept one another. The reason Romans is so powerfully long and complicated is that Paul had to first introduce himself, introduce his theology, introduce his understanding of the way of following Jesus to two separate groups in the church. And then, only after doing all of that work, launching into a description of how these two groups within the same church community could live together and work together and be the body of Christ together. St. Augustine became one of the great fathers, one of the great parents of the Christian church. He was converted to the faith simply by having heard a child repeating a few words, the book of Romans. St. John Chrysostom, one of the early parents of the church, St. John Chrysostom said that this was the letter that he wished that he could have read to him twice a week in order for him to understand the beauty of the faith. Martin Luther came to a deeper understanding of the faith, in fact, launched the Reformation on the power of comprehending the faith through Paul's eyes. William Tyndale, who was the one who translated the Bible into English first, William Tyndale said that Romans was the most excellent part of the New Testament. John Wesley, the person who began the Methodist movement that we belong to, the United Methodist Church, John Wesley was transformed. His understanding of faith was transformed by hearing read Martin Luther's preface to the Epistle to the Romans. There is an amazing lot in Romans. Sometime in your life, maybe sometime soon, to sit down and read it and attempt to understand it. It's had a powerful influence. Romans, have a stab. Try and read some of it. Try to understand what Paul wants to get across, not only for the people following the Jesus way in Rome. It is a powerful message about living together as a community of faith in Springfield, in Drexel Hill, in Delaware County, in Pennsylvania, in the United States, in the world now and back then, and off into the future where you're going, into the future, to take the message of Paul and understand living in a community of faith. Enjoy your homework this week. Do good work. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye now.